We are a couple of weeks away from the 100-day mark of the Trump presidency, and you know what that means. An avalanche of stories and websites and commentary and punditry and bloviation about what it all means. How far has Donald Trump come in this 100 days? Now, I've talked about it, we all talk about it, but clearly it's a somewhat arbitrary benchmark. We look back at history, going back to Ronald Reagan or JFK or LBJ or Clinton or Obama. We don't now say, gee, how much did they get accomplished by April 29th? Now, obviously, we use it in the media business as a way, kind of a temporary scorecard, a snapshot. How much has the president accomplished? You can already sense the press gearing up to say that, he hasn't gotten any major legislation through. The health care bill failed. The executive orders on travel have been blocked by the courts. At the same time, the president has accomplished some things, including yesterday, Neil Gorsuch joining the Supreme Court, including last week, the widely praised successful airstrikes against Syria, and some other things in the regulatory area, restoring economic confidence, and so forth. What's fascinating to me is every administration concludes, arbitrary though it might be, that it has to play the 100-day game because the media are going to be going crazy, and so they have to get on in the game as well. So the new communications director at the White House, Mike Dubke, organized a big meeting, a big planning strategy session for how to brand the first 100 days. And naturally, in a big meeting, this immediately leaked. It leaked to Politico in an incredible detail. And this is possibly the leakiest White House I have ever seen. And so you had some skeptics, no names attached, of course, saying things like, 100 days is the marker. We have essentially 2.5 weeks to turn everything around. This is going to be a monumental task, as if Donald Trump still won't be president on April 30th. And when they set up these sort of 3 different working groups with magic markers and whiteboards and paper, apparently some of the participants didn't like that. Another unnamed White House aide telling Politico, it made me feel like I was back in the 5th grade. So Dubke actually did talk on the record to Politico and said this was just a brainstorming session. And he said if people had a problem with it, he wished they had spoken up at the time to have an honest and open conversation rather than running off to the press. He also said he wasn't trying to rebrand the Trump presidency, but it did need a bit of branding because if they don't brand it, then the media will do it for them. All fair points, but after days of all of these leaked stories about Bannon versus Jared and Trump being ticked off about it and getting them in a meeting, and now they've buried the hatchet and all the different factions and what it means. Look, as a journalist, I love leaks, but if every single thing that Donald Trump or any of his aides do is going to immediately be leaked to the press, even something so relatively routine as planning to mark the first 100 days, that really undermines the president. I asked Kellyanne Conway about this Sunday on MediaBuzz, and she said it doesn't help the president. They play it down, palace intrigue and all that, but it's becoming part of the story. Whether it's overblown by the media, maybe, but we will see this in earnest as we hit the first 100-day mark. But just keep in mind, after that, Trump still has almost 4 more years to make his mark. If there's one thing we've learned in the last week or so, especially the situation in Syria, it's not so much the plans that a new president brings to office, but how he reacts in times of crisis that we can't predict, where he really ends up making his mark on history.